Hello, I'm Maisha Harris, the Vice President of the South Mountain Levine Chamber of Commerce. Welcome to Around the Mountain podcast, and I'd like to introduce my co-host, Caroline Torres.
Hi, this is Caroline Torres with the South Mountain Levine Chamber of Commerce, bringing to you more value so you could get to know some of the business owners from around the mountain.
Yes, and our special guest today is the famous foodie, and he can introduce himself.
Well, I guess, she said I'm the famous foodie. So my name's Randy Gatewood. I own Randizzle's food truck, and I'm glad to be on the podcast today. Thanks for having me on the show.
Well, thank you very much. So please introduce to us your cuisine. Let us know how you got started and where you plan on, we want to know where you started, where you're headed in the next 5 years, and we know your hub is in the East Valley, but you come around the mountains, so we want to know that part too.
Okay, yeah. So I took a leap of faith about 5 years ago to go back into the real world of being an entrepreneur and trying to figure out, how can I be my own boss again? And so that's how Randizzle's came about. I came from food and wine, and so I was in that industry watching a lot of other business owners and other people like that who were very successful in the foodie world that we like to call it. And so I just got to the point where I said, if those guys can do it, then I know I can do it. Because I have had a couple of other businesses and things like that where we were very successful with. So I just took a lot of that from what I had been doing in the past and transitioned it over to Randizzle's, which we are a mobile food truck specializing in gourmet burgers and tacos.
I know earlier when we were having a conversation, you mentioned that before you used to go to different locations. I know when a food truck business owner starts in that industry, they end up testing different areas. Mm-hmm. But then you got so popular that now you are only in the East Valley most of the time, correct?
Well, I try. We did get really, really popular, and we'll talk about that path to success and that path throughout this broadcast as well. But we are based in the East Valley, Southeast Gilbert, Queen Creek, but we try to go around now to at least to the mountain, to Levine, to Tempe. I try to operate in Metro Phoenix. But like you said, we do have such a tremendous following now that I try and I decrease that radius just a little bit, just from a logistics standpoint of having to always get to all these locations, with the truck. But I try to accommodate everyone, or at least to try to meet someone maybe in the middle to where, like when we go to Levine or around the mountain, that's our hub for like some of the people on the west side or south side or that to try and get to us as well. So I try and look at it from that standpoint and logistically try and meet everybody somewhere in the middle.
I know that you have a lot of raving fans. And if you were to give a piece of advice for someone who's getting started, what would that be? I know that we're going to get to your story and how you got to be so successful. I know you mentioned that you have been in the food industry and you have started different businesses, but if you were to start all over today, what would be the one thing that you will do right now?
I think the biggest thing is having that just belief in yourself that you can accomplish these things. And not only can you accomplish them, but you can accomplish them on a huge scale. When I set out on this food truck venture and to get into this business, I didn't go to culinary school. I didn't come up in restaurants. So like for me, it was an even bigger leap of faith to jump into the food world or the restaurant world or the food truck world. But I tell you, it's been very, very rewarding. It's been very, very fulfilling. It has been a lot of work, a lot of time. But when I decided to take that leap of faith, I did have that belief in myself that I could do it. And I think that's what holds a lot of entrepreneurs back is that belief that belief of me failing is bigger than me succeeding. And so you have to be able to overcome that mental side of things and tell yourself every day. And then you develop that work ethic to carry you through those tough times and to transition through the times where maybe you're not as successful or it's a little rougher than in the beginning. I think there's also a misconception that people think that it's always been like this for Randizzles, and it hasn't. You know, we started out in my second event, I had no customers for probably a half hour. A brand new truck, you know, we're sitting there waiting, and so
with food being prepared, or
food
at
being
least
prepared,
like,
I bought all this food and we're ready to go. So like that's that misconception, and I think it is even from other restaurant owners or food truck owners, they think that I've always had this success, and it wasn't like that in the beginning, you know?
I am so glad that you mentioned that, because I know a lot of people think that off the get-go, they're going to be successful, that money is going to start flowing in, and that everybody's going to know about them because, you know, I guess I put a post on social media, but that the reality is that it takes some time to get to that success.
It does.
And there's a lot of sleepless nights.
It is. It's a lot of hard work. It's a lot of time. And as I stated earlier, for our second event, we didn't have customers for 30 minutes, and the place was crowded with people, but no one knew who Randizzles was. They didn't know, what that burger tastes like. They didn't know the details of what goes into making that burger what it is. And so like it took us time to really develop and figure out how can we get these customers to come to the truck even if they don't know about us, know? And so I started to do that. I started giving samples out. So I started giving sample burgers out. I started giving sample fries out. You know, my budget, I would go into an event with a few $100s saying these are going to all be for samples, because I know if I could get that in your hand, then maybe something would trigger inside to say, oh, that's pretty good. Let's go try it. Or
let's go buy more.
Yeah. So whatever that sample was, and it's crazy because when I did that, I would take those samples in, and then we see those people coming out, and they say, I want what I had on the sample.
Wow.
And so to build it like that and to grow it organically just through word of mouth, not having a huge marketing budget, everything's been organic as far as the process for Randizzles. But I think it's been mostly because of the product, because I think we've over-delivered with that burger and with those tacos, that they know now that every time I go here, it's going to taste the same, or it's going to be maybe better.
That consistency.
But it is. We've been really consistent in our delivery, and that comes with just not changing the formula either. The formula from what we're doing, I have not changed anything since we launched the truck.
Well, it goes back to what you just said at the beginning. It's about having faith in yourself, having faith in your product, and allowing time.
Yep.
And investment,
time, investment, and then also listening to the customer. Yep. So I didn't go to culinary school either. I didn't come up in restaurants, as I stated earlier. So I wasn't in a box or a circle when it comes to someone telling me that you can't mix this or you can't layer this flavor. So my menu is built on the conception of outside the box, where outside the circle and outside the box, that's where all the fun's at, and so many of us live inside the circle or inside the box with the fear of, I'm not ready for what's happening out here. But outside the box and outside the circle, that's where all the creativity's at. That's where the fun's at. And so I think for us, that's why I put together certain burgers, or you may see certain things on our menu that maybe it's probably not traditional or classic to someone else. But now I think that's what the customer expects. What is Randizzle going to bring next? What new burger is going to come out next? Yeah, we have this great menu that has a conservative side, but this adventurous side, what is he going to do next? And so that's
seasonal burgers,
yeah,
right?
You just never know from what we're going to create next. And I think now that's what the people look for. There's, like I said, we have that menu where it caters to everyone from the 3-year-old to the 80-year-old, but I think the foodies and the burger enthusiasts and just the people who really enjoy like the quality, I think they're looking forward, and they're always like, well, what is he going to do next? Or is he going to bring this burger back? And so I think now that's where our niche has been in the whole food world, is we bring a little bit more creativity to that side. But then also from a flavor, I'm really big on flavor. It's got presentation and flavor.
Yes,
Those are my two
presentation.
biggest
Because
things.
when you
Yeah.
look at his burgers, you salivate.
Yeah.
I mean, just the photo.
But I'm
Let's talk
curious
about
to
that.
know, like, how long it took him to get from, like, I'm selling almost nothing at the beginning to, like, now achieving this success based on, again, the faith, the consistency, and knowing that, you know, the product needs to always come the same
For sure.
or taste better. You know, like, but for those that know that have a good product, but sometimes are expecting different results, how long do you will stay?
I think they have to be patient in that regard. It probably took us, we were probably, I'm guessing, a year and a half or so into us launching Randizzles when we started to really see the potential of what it could be, you know? And I think you have to be patient in that regard, especially when it's a new business, because the restaurant food industry itself is one of the most difficult businesses to get into, you know? And then when it comes to burgers and tacos, those are probably the two most competitive categories out there, you know, maybe outside of barbecue or something. But for us, it wasn't an overnight success. I would say a year and a half or so into it is when I really, really believed and started to have the faith that this thing could be as big as we want it to be, you know? And that's I have some huge, huge goals for Randizzle. You know, we won't get into a lot of those, but the goal is to operate throughout North America, you know, because now I really firmly believe, because of the customers and because of now the volume and because of the followers, I really think that I could put that burger up now against anyone, anywhere, and it'll compete, it'll stand on its own. Or people are gonna say, oh, I saw that truck on social media. I saw a photo of his burger. Let me go try it. And then once they come and try it, it's up to me to capture them. And not just capture them from a burger, but capture them from an experience.
Yes.
The hospitality side of it, you know, everything that comes with Randizzles is so much more than just the burger. And I think that's why people have gravitated to us, and that's why we've had the success. Is like I said, it's not just the burger. I'm trying to create an experience, a culture behind what it is we do. And so I think that's been one of the biggest reasons why we've been so successful.
Wow. Well, if you guys are not taking notes on those golden nuggets, then go back, rewind, share this video with your friends and family, especially those that are thinking about becoming entrepreneurs. Why? Because this information needs to be shared, needs to be acknowledged by those that, again, are sometimes facing those difficult decisions. Should I move on? Should I continue? What should I do? And I'm glad that you said it yourself. Like, your product, the faith on yourself, on your business is what propelled you and got you that, little bit of energy when you wanted to. Because I'm assuming there were days that you were like, why am I doing this?
There's definitely, you definitely have those difficult moments, but even as an entrepreneur, you have to go into it knowing that you're going to have those difficult times. Yes. Okay, but how will I overcome that? How will I overcome the adversity of dealing with not having the sales I want that day, not having enough funding for this, or I've put my life savings and everything into this. How can I make it work? And I really feel like, as an entrepreneur, those are questions that you have to sort of figure out before you take that leap of faith too, a little bit.
Oh, yes.
You got to have it in the back of your mind that, it's not always going to be easy. And then you also have to be able to transition. If it's not working, what am I going to transition to? Or what can I bring to the table to help my menu here? We've been fortunate enough that I haven't had to transition much at all. We're a burger and we're a taco truck. And so now I know what that looks like, and I know what my customer expects from us. Yep. Wow. Okay, and so I don't mess with the formula or the blueprint. I keep it the same now that I know exactly what that looks like.
Keep that recipe.
Before we run out of time, how do we find where Randizzle's truck is at? I need to know, because I need to know.
So we post everything on our social media. Follow us on Instagram, follow us on Facebook, check the website. Email, text, DM, whatever you want, but it's all social media under @Randizzle's Food Truck.
Weekly? He has a weekly schedule. It's always out. And I know where to find him.
Well, my people, we'll share that information in the links below. So if you want to find where's Randizzle's truck, well, go ahead and click the information below. And thank you so much for coming and exchanging with our business community such a wonderful information. And for me, it was inspirational. So
Well, thanks for having us. I appreciate it.
you.
Yeah, thank
see you guys
Yeah.
next time.
Bye.
Bye.
See ya.